If you've been watching me for some time now, you would know that the video game medium is pretty much the foundation for this channel. I love games. I think it's one of the best forms of entertainment ever. Like this Italian plumber and Blue Hedgehog pretty much raised me growing up. However, during the pandemic period, I really wanted to really broaden my horizons when it came to experiencing more stories and newer narratives. And lo and behold, I discovered something called reading. Books. Yes, I know. All I need to do now is just get into Warhammer and I've pretty much ticked off the bucket list of becoming a nerd. Bear in mind, this is a video coming from someone who's barely read any books growing up. I never really cared for reading growing up, I can't lie, but that's a completely different topic for a separate video for another time. Regardless, I think if you are an avid gamer and are craving new compelling stories, but feel like you're burnt out or feel like you've pretty much experienced all the best stories there is to offer, you're wrong. You're literally living under a rock. I can't lie. I think there's a lot of novels, a lot of fantasy novels that gamers will appreciate here from all types of genres. So without further ado, let's begin. Shoo! The world of God of War is a brutal one, a violent one, a lot of death, a lot of killing, and a lot of gods. And if you're a fan of the 4th and 5th game in the series, specifically being God of War 4, aka God of War 2018, and God of War Ragnarok, with the setting taking place within the 9 realms of Norse mythology, I'm going to recommend the Bloodsworn Saga by John Gwynne. A very much Norse-inspired landscape where a giant battle between gods take place. From the events of that battle, the fall of the gods have created a breach to allow demonic creatures to escape, as well as their bloodlines to be passed on hundreds of years later. So now we have people with tainted blood, god blood inside of them now. They are predominantly looked down upon society and are mainly slaves in this world. We follow 3 POVs mainly in this saga, with one of them being my personal favorite, Orca. Orca is literally female Kratos. She has a family, she has a son called Brekka, and although she's very battle experienced, she's very battle worn, she knows how to fight, she's like a badass in this world. She still comes off as very motherly and maternal, especially with like scenes with her son. However, due to events in the story, her son does unfortunately get kidnapped / taken away, and it's pretty much her on a revenge quest. Think of it like, bro, think of it like a female Viking John Wick, and oh, it's oh so beautiful. The parallels between Orca and Brekka in this story compared to Atreus and Kratos are apparent. I'm not even joking, the first scene of this book is literally Orca teaching Brekka how to hunt and use a bow. This is not confirmed or not, but I'm pretty sure John Gwynne had to have played these games before writing Shadow of the Gods. It's definitely not a coincidence. The writer really knows how to create a sense of scale, which is awesome. Like, if personally for me, like if this was to be like directed and made into a feature film, Gareth Edwards, the guy who did the Godzilla, the first 2012 Godzilla film, and the Rogue One Star Wars story movie, would be my choice if this was ever to get adapted. He knows how to put big he knows how to make things feel big, let's just say that. Like, we get a giant ass snake head skull, which is as big as a mountain, and inside that skull there's a city inside it, and people live around and inside it. It's so cool, man. The world building is chef's kiss. With other POVs as well, we are introduced to a plethora of other elite clans and players within the story. We get epic shield and axe battles. Surprisingly, it's very, very violent and grim, I can't lie. There's a lot of blood and a lot of like gruesome kills, but surprisingly, again, there's a lot of heart and emotion in this story. An example being Orca and her son. Like, the writer knows how to write, putting it simple. You really feel the found family in this one. Like, this, again, one of my favorite tropes in fantasy novels and storytelling in general. Varg, another POV in the story, probably my second favorite POV in the story. Varg was a man who was once a slave. He is now free and he's trying to find what happened to his lost sister. And in doing so, he pretty much bumps into, joins the Bloodsworn, which is like the most elite clan in all of Vigrid. And bro, the Bloodsworn, bro, they have so much to them. Like, every single character, every side character in this like group is elite. They have so much oh bro, they're all badasses. It's one of them groups. They're just all OP. You know, like those OP like anime protagonist groups? Yeah, they're basically that equivalent in like Viking form. And just like God of War, both stories delve into the tension between fate and free will, exploring whether individuals can transcend the roles imposed on by society, prophecy, or divine forces. So yeah, Bloodsworn Saga. We got Shadow of the Gods, the first book, Hunger of the Gods, second book, and Fear of the Gods, the third book, which came out recently as well. Orca, again, is probably top 10 female characters in like any fictional series I've ever experienced. She's so badass. And I also wanted to say, again, the book covers one of the best. Like, that's what you call, like, I'm someone to judge a book by its cover. This was a clear example of picking up a book by its cover, and then I was 10-10, bro, 10-10. Final Fantasy is like one of my favorite franchises of all time. Square Enix really know how to make such unique worlds and comparing characters within them. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, I'd recommend the Aeronauts Windless of the Cinderspire series, written by Jim Butcher. This is pure steampunk fantasy, similar to the aesthetics of something more to Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy XII, I'd say. The novel is set in a world where humanity lives in massive spires, towering structures far above the ground. The surface is dangerous and largely unexplored, filled with deadly creatures. People travel the skies via airships, and most technology is powered by magical crystals. So we get really cool like steampunk designed like architecture and airships and gauntlets and cannons. We get like crystal powered gauntlets that can shoot like energy beams from your palm. Very much similar to something like Iron Man's repulsors, but like in a steampunk aesthetic. It's so cool. And it's pretty much a warring feud between different spies and factions. Again, just like oh wait, yes, I forgot to mention, oh my god, we have talking cats in this book. Talking cats, yes, we get cat POVs. Talking cat POVs in this book that help out with the main cast. Yeah, we get cats, yeah, POV, go read it. Do I have to explain more? Again, just like Final Fantasy, Aeronaut's Windless has that perfect mix of humor, epic stakes, mystery, drama, and a tad bit of absurdism as well in it. Narrative focuses on multiple perspectives, weaving together the lives of different characters as they navigate between spires. We got Gwendolyn Lancaster, heiress to the House Lancaster, who owns the battery that makes crystals, the primary source of power and energy in this world. Yeah, her family is very important. She leaves home to join the Spyrox Guard and is very bold, witty, and a very determined character. Gwen is a character who's both very privileged, but she is also like very rebellious when it comes to like societal expectations, which I found very, very compelling for a main character. We also have a cousin as well, Benedict Lancaster. He isn't as important as Gwen in like the family like tree line of hierarchy in her family, but he is a warrior born, so like he has like slightly more like enhanced physical abilities, extra strength. He has like eye-shaped pupils like cats, and he's already a Spyrox guardsman as well. This is just a random thing. His name is Benedict and Gwendolyn, Ben and Gwen. Is Jim Butcher secretly a Ben 10 fan? Curious. I just thought of that now. Oh my god, I'm baffed. The cousins have a very fun family dynamic between them and always have each other's backs. We also got another main character as well, the face of the book, being Captain Grimm, owner of the AMS Predator. He is a disgraced former fleet captain with a strong sense of honor. The airship Predator is pretty much the highlight of this book for me. Jim Butcher really knows how to write very clean, cinematic, like ship-to-ship battles in the sky. Literally, it's just sky pirates. Like, legit the best combo you can have. You literally grow attached to the ship, you get attached to all the crew and everyone inside it, and the banter between the ship's crew, from like the cooks to the captains to the XOs to the engineers, top tier banter. So yeah, Aeronaut's Windless, and once again, talking cats. Okay, continuing on with the Final Fantasy comparisons and recommendations, I'd also want to recommend Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, written by Brandon Sanderson. If you're looking for more of an intimate story, a story focused more on like romance, where you know it's mainly about a boy and a girl who like are from different worlds and their paths intertwine and interlock with each other, and they have to solve like a oncoming conflict or threat. Very much in the line of something like Final Fantasy X. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter is for you because it legit is just that. Yumi is a girl with the ability to summon spirits from a peaceful and nature-based society, and Nikoro, aka Painter, a boy from a more technologically advanced world where it's always nighttime. Nikoro's world specifically is plagued by nightmares. They're kind of like shadow creatures, and painters are like the you could say the military of this world. Use their art to capture and get rid of these shadow creatures. They suddenly find their lives intertwined when they begin swapping bodies while sleeping, forcing them to navigate each other's worlds and work together to unravel the mystery behind their connection and save their respective communities from impending disaster. And it's pretty much just them learning and teaching each other's art form to each other while they grow together and like swap bodies together and like have that like, you know, that typical like Makoto Shinkai style banter they have. If you're a fan of, again, something like Weathering with You or like Your Name, there's a lot of parallels between that and this book as well. It's a very easy read, it's a very fun read, there's a lot of cute and adorable moments between each other, but also there's a lot of epic and lit like action scenes as well, especially the theming as well in the story. A lot of relevant topics are being discussed about art, the concept of art, the role of the artist, even AI art as well. But yeah, again, if you're a fan of something like Tidus and Yuna from FF10, you'll very much enjoy like the dynamics between Nikoro and Yumi in this novel. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, yeah. The Legend of Zelda is a flagship franchise for Nintendo and is considered to have one of the greatest games of all time, about a young village boy not knowing he is destined for greatness, pulling a sword from stone and becoming the hero of time to slay off a foreboding evil. If you want a fairy tale-esque story similar to this, I'd recommend The Once and Future King by T.H. White. This is very much a collection of short stories from Arthurian legend, with one of the stories being the iconic Sword in the Stone. A young boy named Arthur Pendragon living in England is to be a squire and bumps into Merlin, the wizard, who he is mentored by. As he grows up, he is put through trials, tasks, and tribulations. Arthur is a boy of pure curiosity. He just likes doing stuff and learning new things. And just like the fable told, as he grows up, as he matures more, as he gains more experience, he eventually pulls sword from stone and becomes King of England. Just a heads up, this book was written in the 50s as a child's book, so you do have to like mentally adjust yourself when you're reading it, because the prose again are very, very different from modern fantasy storytelling. Regardless, I still think it is worth the read, especially if you have kids. This is a kid's book at the end of the day, and I think, again, it would be a fun read if you had it with them. Okay, continuing the Zelda recommendations, if you're a fan of like prophecies, if you're a fan of foreboding evil and threats, a chosen one male protagonist, and an epic fantasy world with like mages and princesses, monsters, as well as like a cyclical timeline, I'd then recommend the legendary, iconic Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. The Wheel of Time is a high fantasy series. It follows the struggle between the forces of light and shadow in a richly detailed world where time is cyclical and history repeats itself. Again, very much like The Legend of Zelda with its games and narratives. At its center is Rand al'Thor, a humble farm boy revealed to be the Dragon Reborn, a prophesized savior who must battle the Dark One to prevent the destruction of existence. Alongside his friends, Rand navigates the political intrigue, vast battles, and the rediscovery of ancient powers as each character grapples with their own destinies. With themes of heroism, fate, and the balance between male and female powers, the series spans an epic journey across a vividly realized world, culminating in a decisive battle that could reshape the pattern of reality itself. The Wheel of Time is legit epic. I'm not even joking. It's a 15-book series, and each book is like 700 pages long. If you want that like that long-term storytelling, if you want like a story that you want to dive into for a while, this is the series for you. Again, just like I said, especially if you're a Zelda fan, like there's so many parallels between the two. The Wheel of Time pretty much upscales everything compared to Zelda. So yeah, if you want that long-term adventure, go for it. Although I haven't read the series yet, I want to give a shout out to The Tales of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is specifically for my Zelda Wind Waker fans out there. If you're a fan of like ocean inspired island-based worlds, the world is set in this giant scape of archipelago islands, and it follows like a young boy. He's very reckless, and it's pretty much him becoming a mage. He fights monsters and shadow creatures, and again, it's very good versus evil, and I couldn't help but see the parallels between this and Wind Waker, so yeah, I couldn't help but mention it. Geralt of Rivia is a monster slayer for hire and searching for his adopted daughter who is on the run from the otherworldly Wild Hunt. And if you didn't know what the synopsis of the game I was talking about The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I'm sure like many of you, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was the game that got you into the world of The Witcher and the continent. But you may have not known this was also based off one of the best-selling fantasy series of the same name. Created by Andrzej Sapkowski, The Witcher is a dark fantasy series centered on Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter, aka a Witcher. Trained from childhood and mutated to battle deadly creatures in a morally grey world, Geralt navigates the landscape of political intrigue, war, and magic, all while struggling with his own humanity. The interesting thing here when you're comparing the books to the game here is that it's not really an adaptation. The game itself, the Wild Hunt specifically, is not based off any of the novels and acts more like a sequel to the story after the books have finished. Like when you play Witcher 3 for the first time, that's the premise of the story. Ciri is the adopted daughter of Geralt, and while you're playing the game, they pretty much mention a lot of things that have happened in the past or Geralt's past. The books pretty much show how these stories came to be. They show how Geralt and Ciri first met, how we first meet Dandelion, how we first meet Yennefer, how we first meet Triss, and how those relationships were built and made. It's actually one of those few rare occasions where I think playing the game first actually helps within the immersion of reading the novels. I think even enhances the experience as well. Let me know down below what you guys think of that. I'm very curious. I've never really met anyone who's played the games second. The books provide more of a fixed story for readers to absorb, while the game offers an interactive experience where players actively shape Geralt's journey and have a lot more freedom. I haven't finished all the books as of the recording of this video, but when it comes to again freedom and choice in the game and whether what's canon and what's not, for example, in the game there's a love triangle between Yennefer, Geralt, and Triss, and you can kind of choose who you want to end up with within the story. But the books are not like that. The books clearly indicate that Yennefer and Geralt are the thing, the main couple. Yeah, I'm very sorry, Triss fans. All the themes are carried over from games to novels: freedom of choice, destiny, and free will. The blurred lines between good and evil. If you're a fan of The Witcher Wild Hunt, you have to read the books. it's no question. Also, another story recommendation for the Witcher games. I'm cheating a little bit here because it's not really a novel, it's more of a manga series, and that series is Berserk, written by and illustrated by Kentaro Miura. Berserk is also set in a European medieval fantasy world filled with hellspawn and demons. We follow Guts, a lone swordsman wandering the lands with a big-ass giant sword. Very much like Geralt, both him and Guts have had very hard lives growing up. To put it lightly, both tales of survival, sacrifice, and just them enduring struggles against darkness and evil. They are both monsters and demon slayers, but they are also seen as monsters by everyone else in the world. It's a very tragic theme. I'm really surprised on YouTube communities and in social media in general that we haven't seen that many recommendations between the two with The Witcher and Berserk, because I feel like the comparisons between the two are very apparent, and even a lot of their publishing came out around the same time. Berserk legit gives off that same aura within its world, where you don't know what's gonna come around that hill. It has that like alluring nature which has you locked in as a reader, and you just can't look away. So yeah, Berserk. I love superheroes, and one of my favorite all-time superhero video game franchises is the Insomniac Spider-Man PlayStation series. A pure love letter to fans of the web slinger with such a cinematic scale of a game with very emotional and heartfelt storytelling, especially if you're a fan of the more older, like wiser adult side of Peter Parker. If you love these games specifically, I would 100% recommend the Spider-Man Sinister Six trilogy written by Adam Troy Castro. I love these books. These books do not get enough recommendation. Superhero books, Marvel novelizations, novels in general, during like the 2000s and 90s, no one talks about them, man. It pisses me off, man. Why am I the only one talking about this? I have to recommend these books. The trilogy begins with the gathering of the Sinister Six, where a mysterious villain, the Gentleman, orchestrates the formation of the Sinister Six, a team of Spider-Man's greatest foes, including Dr. Octopus, Electro, and others. The Gentleman seeks to exact revenge on Spider-Man while advancing his own sinister agenda. As Spider-Man battles the group, he uncovers deeper conspiracies that tie into his own past. And meanwhile, Peter Parker struggles to balance his personal life with Mary Jane and his responsibilities as a hero, questioning his role in the lives of those around him. He's also hella broke as well. Spider-Man must rally his allies and use his wits to thwart the Gentleman's scheme, all while confronting the painful truths about his origin as well as the burden of being a hero. And for those who don't know, just a reminder, the Gentleman is a very obscure character, but he did again appear in the Amazing Spider-Man films. You know, like the old guy in, you know, the old guy in the top hat with the trench coat who's always in shadow? Yeah, it's that guy. And yeah, this is the book that I believe was the inspiration for the Amazing Spider-Man films. Definitely what would have been in the third Amazing Spider-Man film if that ever gets released. But just like the first Insomniac game, this is a city-scale war between Spider-Man, Manhattan, and the rest of his rogues. The books are paced so well throughout this entire trilogy. There's like a doomsday clock section in the second book. The action scenes always have you on edge. There's honestly times where I genuinely think that some of these books, these novels, specifically this book in particular, are better than like most comics, most Spider-Man comics that I've read, and a lot better than some of the movies as well, I can't lie. We even jump POVs between Spidey and MJ, just like in the games. And may I say that the POVs with MJ in this book are way more compelling than the games. And like, even like the audiobook narrator, I'll definitely recommend the Audible version of Gathering of the Sinister Six. It's a very great listen. Tim Page, the narrator of the audiobook, legit sounds like Yuri Lowenthal. You will be fully immersed with the Spider-Man story, I guarantee it. And just like the PS4 game, this is an adult Peter Parker, an established Spider-Man, an established Marvel Universe, Manhattan. You get references and callbacks to previous Spider-Man stories within previous books and comics. Iconic locations are referenced, and even some fun cameos from certain Avengers and X-Men. It's really cool. Like, bro, I love this book, man. Again, wonderful theming of resilience, good versus evil, sacrifice, and the complexity of heroism, offering a more darker take and more introspective take on Spider-Man's like POV and mindset when he's fighting his rogues. This series is like my comfort series. I've read this 3 times. And again, I don't know why Marvel novelizations don't get enough love. I legit did a full like video review for this book series particularly, so if you're a fan of what I said here, please go down below and check the link below for that. Yeah. And there you have it. Those are my video game to novel recommendations. If I missed anything out, please let me know down below. If you have any recommendations for me, please let me know down below. If you like the video, please like, share, subscribe, and yeah, I shall see you guys next time. Peace.